Proudly a part of the Athletic Podcast Network. It's April 17th, 2023. I'm your host today, Trey Kirby, and alongside me, a man who has known the basics of recycling since at least 1995. It's Tas.
And we switched it up for you here in the postseason, baby. Throwing some wrenches at you.
Yeah, I had to move from third base over to first here. Wait, no, first to third, I think, when I'm looking at it.
Yeah, first to third.
From our seats, at least. So playing the hot corner today.
It's a hot corner.
Can't wait to show off my arm over to first base. At first base, it's the man making the magic happen, JD.
Hello.
There he is.
There he is.
Here we are. One person missing, you may have noticed. J.E. Skeets. I don't know what position he's playing right now. Pinch runner? He's pinch running the Boston Marathon right now.
Call.
He just kicked off. We're going to kind of track him during the show here. Last I checked, JD, he was 1% to 2% in. Whoa, he's up to 5% already. This guy's flying.
Look at him go.
What timing? Did they time the start of the Boston Marathon with the start of No Dunks? Like, he's literally getting going at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's perfect. He'll be done by the time we're done, because I feel like we're going to have a marathon of a show. Skeets isn't a world record holder. He's not going 2 hours, but this show could go 2.5, could go 3. 8 games to talk about, Trey.
Yeah, we got 8 series to talk about. I saw that Skeets right now is on pace for a little bit under 3 hours. Obviously, he's just now starting. I think you're right. We could probably go 3 hours today if we really stretch it out.
So you made the baseball analogy. Baseball games are long, sort of. They're getting shorter. But, we can make this a baseball game, baby.
And we can make it like a basketball game, because we were supposed to start talking about the NBA 11 minutes ago, and we're still just talking about things that are happening in the No Dunks world. Like, for instance, is this good? There's a new one out today featuring Ever Maynard, their comedian who has appeared at Just for Laughs. JD, I saw one of the topics discussed with you and Matt. Eating dinner in front of the TV. I ate 100% of my dinners in front of a TV this weekend. So just to tease the people, JD, did Matt like his comedy for this episode?
You know what? I think he was very pleased with the show as it turned out. But when it was happening, he was like, "Oh, there's a weird vibe here." But Ever is very calm, cool, and collected. So I think that may have. They weren't leaning forward and laughing at everything, but Ever was hilarious and we had a great time. So yeah, he was very happy with this episode.
Is Matt messaging you mid-show to tell you that the vibes are off?
No, never.
Okay.
Never.
I was going to say that might be detrimental to the vibes. Great vibes, though, on Fast Friends, our Fast and Furious recap podcast that we recorded during the summer 2021. We're getting ready for Fast X to come out in just a few weeks here. So over the weekend, we re-released our recap of 2013's Fast 6, which has some of the most insane stunts in the entire series. So go ahead and check that out. But Tas, you mentioned it. Huge weekend of basketball for us NBA sickos. The play-ins finished Friday. That feels like a billion years ago. I already miss you, Chicago Bulls. We had game ones all Saturday and Sunday. Is this the best NBA weekend of the year?
I think so. I think it is. As far as the weekend package, yeah, we got the itch. As you said, you're eating dinners in front of the TV. I mean, there's no rules. I got the itch. Like right now, I want to go on playback with everybody and watch a game. So be sure to turn on your tweet notifications. Just check your Discords, your YouTube communities. I'll be dropping a message when I get the itch to drop. Just start a link up and start a watch party on playback. It's free, so come join us. Because it feels like we're all going to be watching every single game, every single minute.
No doubt.
And this weekend was that. Some arguments with Danielle, with my wife, about being able to watch live versus watching afterward and just reading about it. Are you kidding? Just reading about it? I watched 8 games, got into probably 8 fights, Trey, and ready to talk about them. And I'm going to do it again tonight. Playback.
Getting a
Join
fight?
us. No, playback.
Go on a playback.
Yeah,
okay. Oh, you're guaranteeing a playback.
Yes.
You're thinking you're feeling itchy already.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling it. Even when I'm talking about Sixers Nets. Probably the second least itchy series right now, besides Hawks and Celtics. Maybe the Nuggets and Wolves there. But that's the first game, and I ain't itchy enough to be going live for the late game, which
fair enough.
Which should be a good one. But yeah, Turn on your notifications.
Those are the 3 series that have taken antihistamines. Not very itchy. But who knows? Who knows what happens once you get out in nature? But like we said, 8 games over the weekend. We're going to talk about all of them. Let's play It's Just One Game. Scary. Scary. I didn't remember having my dander up. I mean, maybe it's because I'm sitting on the right side here. Things have changed. Nonetheless, let's get into it. Kawhi Leonard scored 38 points to lead the Clippers past Kevin Durant and the Suns, 115-110. Tas, it's just one game, but...
It's just one game, but we got the most Russ game of Westbrook's career last night. In just one game. It started poorly. He was shooting poorly. And then Russ-demption at the end of this game. It was wild. He was struggling a lot to shoot. I thought he got into it with Durant, made it a bit of a one-on-one thing in the first half. He confronted a fan at half under the arena into the tunnel as he was going to the locker room. Late in the fourth quarter, though, Ty Lue said, "You're going out there." He threw a ball into the stands with Kawhi Leonard looking for a pass as he was curling. Him and Kawhi miscommunicated. It looked like we were getting complete bad Russ, and here it is. The Russ-demption started. 3 minutes left. Kawhi missed a shot. Or I'm sorry, it was Eric Gordon who missed a shot with the Clips up 1, and then Russ winning got that offensive rebound. A huge offensive rebound. Gave it to Kawhi, buried a 3. Under a minute left. Clips still up 1. He goes and gets an incredible Russ-like athletic rebound where he just out-hops everybody. They get it back. Russ hits a couple free throws. And then Suns down 3, final possession. Russ defending Devin Booker. You don't think of Russ as a one-on-one defender, but Devin Booker just going directly at him. Russ, a perfect vertical jump to block the shot at the hoop and then grab it and then throw it off Booker. They win this game because of Russell Westbrook. And after the game, a perfect Russell quote. He was asked about his rebounding. He said, quote, "At this position, humbly speaking, nobody's a better rebounder than me." That's a perfect Russ game. He shot 3 of 19, Trey, but they do not win it without those key boards. He had 11 boards, 8 assists, 9 points, 2 steals and 3 blocks. Kawhi Leonard was the guy who sealed it, but again, that he sealed it only because Russ got him the ball, because Russ was the guy who activated it. And Ty Lue, he pushes all the right buttons. RJD pushes all the right buttons. Ty Lue put Russ in the game at the end there, even though, you know, there was a lot of bad things happening with Russ. But that is the perfect Russ game. Not shooting well, getting into it with Durant, making it a one-on-one thing. Telling a fan to watch his back, mother effer, and then the boards and just the energy, and then the most surprising part was stopping Booker, really, that one-on-one, and that sealed it, baby. That was a stolen game there for the Clip.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That was like the perfect trifecta for Russell Westbrook to have a 3 for 19 shooting game. You saw a lot on Twitter and on broadcast last night that this might be the best 3 for 19 game anybody's ever played in the playoffs. Maybe so, but to see Russ with that kind of stat line, that ain't surprising. But the way he showed up in the fourth quarter, like you're saying, was incredible. 5 rebounds, 2 of them offensive, had a couple of blocks, had a steal, 3 assists as well. I agree. Ty Lue did a great job. He rode with Mason Plumlee for quite a long time in the fourth quarter, even though Zubats was having an impact against DeAndre Ayton as well. Eventually went back to Zoo, who played solid throughout the fourth quarter as well. If you're not going to be shooting the ball, it's quite likely you end up on the bench. But Ty Lue stuck with Westbrook, and it paid off with literally just effort plays that kept the Clippers in possession of the ball and getting more shots. And then, of course, Kawhi Leonard, man. This guy is incredible. The way he's come back and played the most minutes of the season last night. Scored 7 in the first quarter, 6 in the second, 12 in the third, 13 in the fourth. He took 10 free throws. He made 3 threes. He was doing basically whatever he wanted. There were certainly times when Kevin Durant's defense was having an impact on Kawhi. He couldn't get the ball. But when it really mattered, Kawhi was able to get to his spots and just looked like the playoff killer that he's been for years and years and years. I thought that the Clippers had a good chance to pull an upset in this game, but I didn't see it going down this way. This wasn't like a crazy shooting day for the Clippers. It was just a lot of effort on the glass and a lot of really great defensive plays. So anybody else stick out to you in game 1, Clippers-Suns?
Well, it's true that this was probably the best opportunity for the Clip to come in and steal it, because I think there was a lack of chemistry. You saw the lack of camaraderie on the Sun side, and this is obviously hindsight here, but when you have a lack of camaraderie and a lack of chemistry, why change the starting lineup even going into it? I thought that was strange, even though the guy who came in, and Torrey Craig over Josh Okogie, had a really good game. There's no doubt. And he was the guy who was tasked with Kawhi Leonard early. I think it just changes the flow of things. And they're off, and not only the starting lineup, but their offense changed a little bit. It was a lot of Kevin Durant just start everything instead of Chris Paul start everything. And so Chris Paul's touches were reduced and Chris Paul's flow got changed. And I think that's what ended up happening at the end of the game. Like, Chris Paul had a couple good shots, missed, and they just didn't know where the shots were coming from. You look up and down the stat lines, some good stat lines from Durant and from Book, but I think they just got out of their flow. You've only played 8 games together. Why change it off the bat? And why go away from what you are? Chris Paul is Chris Paul, and I thought he played a little bit too much off the ball. So they stole one. But I'm sure everyone out there outside of LA is thinking, like, this team Phoenix can go win in game 2 and still win this series, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think especially playing a second home game, the Suns bench you would think would be a little bit better. Maybe changing Craig for Okogie threw off the balance of it, but the Suns bench only scored 10 points last night. They went 3 of 12 from the field, and 2 of those were like Landry Shamet runouts after one was a block by Booker. I think one was a block by Durant, and he just had like wide open layups. So really, they shot 1 for 10 from the field. A lot of that was because Torrey Craig was in the starting lineup, and he had a really good game scoring-wise, but the Suns need to get some more production from their bench, and they need to have a better game, absolutely, from DeAndre Ayton. He went for 18 points, 8 rebounds. Seems fine, but 19 points combined between Zubac and Plumlee, and Ayton only grabbed one defensive rebound in the fourth quarter. He only took 2 free throws. The guy doesn't get to the line. He's happy to shoot it from 10 feet. He had the little mid-ranger going, but was making no impact on the glass, and that's when Westbrook was really smelling blood. He's like, if the shot goes up, I got as good a chance as anybody out there, despite the fact he's given up 8 inches or whatever it may be to Ayton. So need a bigger game from Ayton in this series going forward. That is a swing matchup that can definitely tilt the Clippers' way if Ayton isn't making an impact. And then I thought it was kind of a weird fourth quarter for Kevin Durant as well. You mentioned that Chris Paul was playing off the ball quite a bit. Durant was just standing in the corner for a lot of the fourth quarter. Part of that is Kawhi Leonard does a great job of keeping the ball out of his hands, but Kevin Durant scored a basket, took the lead for the Suns, 6 minutes and 50 seconds left. He took 1 shot after that. A lot of the offense was running through Devin Booker. He finished with 5 turnovers. Chris Paul was missing some little short shots. You got Kevin Durant on your team for a reason. Let him ride. Let him roll. Just give him the ball and let him cook. Even if it's against Kawhi Leonard, you'll take some of those 2s, even if they're contested, because it's KD.
Yeah, you have to get him the ball first.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, and we skimmed over. Kawhi was awesome and a monster, and this guy is obviously a robot and obviously knows his body, and just slowly upped his minutes throughout the season and started playing back-to-backs. And then in the fourth quarter, he was literally fighting over screens and taking away the passing lanes for Kevin Durant late in this game. But you do have to get him the ball, and it was clear that him and Book have a sort of a your turn, my turn type thing going. And, hey, that's worked. We saw LeBron and Kyrie win a championship like that. But even on the last possession, when Booker did go at Russ, Booker was trying to get Kevin Durant the ball. They're like, okay, it's your turn, bud. not it's your turn. It's you're the best player on this team. You get the ball. And then Kevin Durant just said, no. You got Russell Westbrook. You should be able to beat him. Go ahead. So I just do think they kind of took themselves out of the game mentally a little bit. And I think Monty Williams has to go back to Okogie, because you mentioned the offensive rebounds, 15-6 for the Clip in this game. Okogie, that's his thing. Yep. And he only had 7 minutes off the bench. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. They do have a thin bench. Campaign is another big part of this bench, and he is injured right now. So he's on the sideline. So I think you go back to what you know, and maybe that chemistry works out. And yeah, listen. I shouldn't take too much away from the Clips. Kawhi was awesome that third quarter, getting them back in the lead, and the bench was so good. And I think the Clips know that they have the bench advantage. They came out playing fast. Like, they were trying to run it down the Suns' throat. So this is a really fun series, and especially with Ty Lue at the helm. I trust that guy with everything. I think he doesn't get enough credit for being a great coach, just period overall. People say he's a great adjustments coach. He's just a great coach, period overall. He gets his guys working. So we got a series, baby. But I still think it can go either way.
Yeah, nice game for Mann, nice game for Powell, nice game for Plumlee, all off the bench. I thought they all had an impact. But surely the Suns will get a little bit more from their role guys in game 2, which is on Tuesday. Anything else from this game?
No, I think we're good. I did want to see where the Marathon Man was. I don't know if we're going to check him out eight times.
You got to be on an app. It's crazy.
It's an app.
Yeah, you can't.
It doesn't work on desktop.
Yeah, you can't use it on desktop. JD, I see
okay,
JD
sorry,
tapping
JD.
away.
That's on me.
We're up to 11%.
He's going to be done before we're done. I think there's no doubt.
That'll be amazing. It looks like he's still keeping to the pace. 2:53 expected time.
That would be a PB.
Well, then
for
you
him.
better have some more on this game if we're trying to get to a 3-hour podcast.
6:49 a mile. All right, no, we can pull it off. No, we can pull. I know this was definitely the game of Sunday.
Definitely.
But we'll have a marathon for Kings Warriors a little later. The game of Saturday. I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm sure Kings fans out there are saying, "Why the heck aren't you starting with our game and our win?" We'll get to it. We're starting the B block with it.
Yeah, we're starting the B block with it. And honestly, it was only because it's Saturday. We're kind of chronological here.
Okay.
So, anyways, Rui Hachimura scored 21 points in the second half, finished with 29 total to lead the Lakers past the Grizzlies in Game 1. It's just Game 1, Tas. Mm-hmm. But Austin Reaves is the new LeBron James. It's weird to talk about a Lakers win and not lead with the stars. Even weirder to have two role players who I think could really lead the story for the Lakers. Rui Hachimura, obviously, huge game last night. 29 points, a career high, 5 3-pointers. Desmond Bane, after the game, called it the best game of his career. People got kind of upset about that. Nonetheless, incredible game for Rui. Meanwhile, Austin Reaves finished with 23 points, 4 assists. He had 14 points in the fourth quarter, including 9 straight to really ice the game for LA. He even had a behind-the-back dish off the dribble for a Rui Hachimura 3. When you're talking about devastating duos in the NBA playoffs, you're thinking LeBron and AD, who were great for the Lakers. You ain't thinking Rui and Reaves, but these guys were so good. And I think Reaves, to me, is really the star here because it seemed a little bit like Rui was the game plan. The Grizzlies did what they could to force shots into Rui Hachimura's hands. He was willing to take them, hit the 5 threes, was stepping into him so confidently late in the fourth quarter that you knew they were going in because he'd made so many already at that point. But there's no way anybody thought Austin Reaves is going to be running pick and roll at the top with LeBron James standing on the right wing just as a spacer. I saw John Hollinger called him Ryan Anderson, the way he was just standing out there and waiting. But Reaves was cooking, getting the Lakers a good shot every single time. I think on the broadcast, it was Stan Van Gundy said, when he's supposed to pass, he passes. When he's supposed to shoot, he shoots. Pretty simple stuff, but he was really, really special in the fourth quarter last night, and the Lakers used it to steal home court advantage right away, and now I'm feeling a little nervous about our pick, Tassie.
Especially with the John Morant injury, which we'll get to in a sec, but we got to start talking about the Lakers, and we got to start without talking about LeBron and even Anthony Davis. You're totally right. The top 2 players offensively in this game were Austin Reaves, throwing behind the back passes like it was nothing. He was going back after scoring on that floater late in the fourth, yelling, mic'd up, baby, I'm him! Like immediately. It wasn't like
Austin Meaves. Yeah. It probably looks better written, I bet.
Yeah. Definitely. After hearing it, yes. But literally, LeBron was playing off the ball, just hanging out. This guy was running the show, and It definitely helped him having those 10 games at the end of the season where he started and he got into a flow. But either way, this guy's just a freaking baller. He threw 2 behind-the-back passes. Again, that one to Rui, who, yes, I mean, to a lesser extent, Rui had a good game, but he's just being set up by other guys. But he did step up, and you can be upset if you're a Lakers fan hearing Desmond Bane say this about your player. Say, we left him open. That was our game plan. Quote, that was our game plan going in. Make him hit shots, and he did. Tip your cap. It's probably the best game he's had in his career. It's a 7-game series. Let's see if he can do it again on Wednesday. The exciting thing for LeBron and Anthony Davis is that this feels like as good a supporting cast after watching Austin Reaves here in the playoffs as they had when they won the title. The big difference is LeBron ain't the same guy. And Anthony Davis has to do it for 2 months, and he had a special run there in 2020. But our man Jovan Buhat, The Athletic, is writing that this literally has at least the ability to be on the same level as KCP, Danny Green, Kyle Kuzma, Dwight Howard, Rondo, who they won it with. Why the heck not? I mean, that LeBron was the point guard on that team. Mm-hmm. He was creating everything. He was starting with KCP and Danny Green in the backcourt. He had to do everything. He literally had to play off the ball in this one, Trey. It was weird watching them down the stretch. And Austin Reaves just handled the ball. I mean, and handled it perfectly. Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, similar to the 2020 Lakers championship team, it was random role guys just having big games. And since the trade deadline, we've seen that quite a few times. We saw a Malik Beasley game. He didn't do anything really. In this one, we saw a Jared Vanderbilt game once upon a time. This was the Rui Hachimura game thus far in his Lakers tenure. And for it to come in the playoffs, I thought was super impressive. D'Angelo Russell, I thought, also stepped up. 19 points, 7 of 17 shooting, hit a few threes, didn't turn the ball over all that much. He had a really bad play-in game, but he was giving a little supplementary scoring. And then, yeah, the Ja Morant injury is going to be a problem for the Grizzlies. He left in the fourth quarter of this game. After who tried to take a charge? It was Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis, yeah.
AD took a charge on him, landed on his hand. Afterwards, there were reports that he couldn't unball socks. He said the pain was at a 10, and he says he's in jeopardy for Game 2 against the Lakers and maybe even for the rest of the series. So definitely something to watch for, because can't imagine the Grizzlies have much of a chance if Ja's out.
No, not with Ja out, and it definitely sounds bad, and it sounds bad because it came out of his mouth as it sounded bad. You're right. He flipped a pair of socks to a staffer in the locker room. He said, "Hey, you unbundle these." What would you call it? Undo? I mean,
what, unwrap? What did I say?
Unravel, maybe.
Yeah,
Unravel's a good way to say it.
A thread on it. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. They're kind of being unraveled, but he literally said, like, it's very tough, stressful, pain level at 10. Obviously, I feel like you guys can tell, as he's talking to reporters, by my body language and stuff now. He called it that it's in jeopardy, and he said it's in jeopardy, and then that it was an aggravation of a bone bruise that he suffered in the second last game of the season. So, yeah, they don't have a chance. But literally, I guess when we start talking about the Lakers and we're all excited, but he leaves midway through the fourth. They are down 4. It's obviously a very much a different game going down the stretch with Austin Reaves taking over on one side, if Morant's trying to take over on the other side, because the Grizzlies got to feel great that their number 2 in Jaren Jackson Jr. had a monster game. He looked so great out there. We went to Memphis and I was watching him last year on MLK Day, and I was wondering, is this guy ever going to get a patented move? He doesn't have one. It doesn't matter. He's just so comfortable bodying anybody. He was bodying LeBron, and maybe earlier in his career he'd throw something up after a couple bumps, but he just took his time and knew that he's bigger than LeBron. He was getting LeBron James in isolation and scoring 13 to 21, 31 points. They're isolating him. This is different ball. Did Tim Duncan? I'm throwing the Tim Duncan comparison, but did Tim Duncan not in the way that Tim Duncan didn't have a patented move? He would throw it up usually with the right hook, but Jaren Jackson Jr. he just is comfortable getting close enough to the hoop and throwing it up, and he's got a shot obviously, but it just sucks that if Morant isn't there, it's just such a drop off. You're not going to get it from Bane, and I don't know if you're going to get enough from Tyus Jones, and that's the worry. I mean, I just don't have enough faith. And we talked about other 3-point shooters. We'll get to Quentin Grimes. Luke Kennard, I think, was taken away a lot in this game. Those type of guys can get taken away with good defense, and the Lakers had great defense. And Anthony Davis, I guess the difference between 2020 is he had a great game defensively, 7 big blocks, but he has to be that all the time. And he almost left with an injury. He got banged up where his shoulder was hurt late in the second quarter, but he was able to bounce back. So that's a big responsibility for him. That's different, right, than JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard or whoever being the center. So will he hold up? He was awesome in this game with those 7 blocks, but I don't know. I guess there's still a lot of working parts here. But as far as the Grizzlies offense, it just it doesn't really have a hope without Ja.
Yeah, they absolutely need Ja, but you've seen the strides that Jaren has made as an offensive player, which is why it's a bummer to see Morant go out.
Right.
Now it feels like he's got a completely different style of number 2. Signature shot, though, Tim Duncan is the bank shot. Guaranteed. If you make a bank in 2023, people are still calling you Tim Duncan, even though he's been retired for 5 seasons or whatever at this point. But Jaren Jackson Jr. will never have a signature move because it looks too crazy anytime he scores. It always feels like an accident, even though he's playing really, really well. Even to the point where when he shoots right-handed inside, it looks like a mistake, even though he's a right-handed shooter. He just usually goes left, so the righty hook looks ugly. It wouldn't get past the U.S. Patent Office. They would say, there's no way somebody wants to trademark this. But he had a great game. Davis, 22, 12, 3 steals, 7 blocks. Dominant in the first quarter. I thought he kind of drifted in the second quarter, had the weird thing with his shoulder, but the guy was great on both ends, defensively and offensively, all last night. The fact they only had 22, I think, was a little bit misleading just because Rui was cooking. They were trying to get the ball out of AD's hands. Reaves was cooking. The only concern I have for Jaren Jackson Jr., he finished with 5 rebounds. He's not a high rebound player, and they mentioned it on the broadcast so many times. He's chasing after these blocks to have an impact at the rim because that's the style of defense he plays. But he's used to either Steven Adams or Brandon Clark being on the other side there for a rebound. Kind of puts Memphis out of position from a rebounding standpoint. So there's got to be like a little bit of a middle ground he's got to find where he's challenging the shots, but also still a factor on the boards because the Lakers did a pretty good job of being a little bit bigger team, I thought, in this game. So hopefully Ja's hand, hopefully the pain goes down to like a 9 or something. He guts it out.
Because X-rays were negative. Yep. And so is it just a pain threshold thing? Well, it's a bad sign. I mean, he was, again, sort of leaning on his locker room stall. He was doing everything with his left hand, including like pulling on his shoes and all that. Didn't need a staffer for that. But yeah, he was just not touching anything with his right hand. Yeah, it does suck because we've been waiting for a sort of a number 2 with this Memphis Grizzlies team. It feels like we've got that number 2 in a different kind of way that we don't see in the NBA. This dude who goes down and just bumps people until he can flick it up, and that's why I see the Tim Duncan comparisons, and that's where he makes his money. Like the bank, here's a money reference here. The bank. How many times did Tim Duncan pull out a bank? Like, I mean, it's nice to think about that, but maybe like 1 a game.
Yeah, how often is he shooting a 12-foot bank shot per game? 1 time per half, I think.
1 time per half. Okay, good. I guess there's just no sexy shot for the Jaren shots aren't sexy.
Exactly right. They definitely aren't.
I was thinking about Tim Duncan in another way, where I guess it was Ricky Rubio that we'll get to in that Cavs-Knicks game. He missed the bunnies of bunnies, and that was like Game 7 of the 2013 finals there, where Timmy missed it on Battier. I'm talking about Tim Duncan and the bad things, just the bad Duncan.
I still can't believe he missed that layup against the Heat either.
Totally.
That's wild stuff.
That is wild stuff. But yeah, that was unfortunately, Ja went out. But damn, what a game! What a game where LeBron didn't have to be ridiculously assertive. Anthony Davis didn't have to be ridiculously assertive offensively, and they win. Yeah. But yeah, the Ja thing that's too much, man. It's too much for them to overcome, I think.
Yeah, definitely a worry for the Grizzlies that neither LeBron or AD were the best player on the court for the Lakers last night. You assume both of them will probably have a 40-point game at some point during the series, and there's only 6 games maximum left, so the math is getting tough for Memphis already, but we'll see how that turns out. Moving on, the Heat scored 130 points on the Bucks to win Game 1, but both Giannis and Tyler Hero went down with injuries. Tas, it's just 1 game, but...
It's just 1 game, but we need to ban the charge. Get rid of it. Giannis Antetokounmpo drove. He's up in the air, and Kevin Love slides underneath him, and Giannis Antetokounmpo bumps into Kevin Love. He's way up on Kevin Love's shoulders because Giannis is a freak of an athlete, and he comes down so hard on his back. Same thing with Ja Morant, charging into Anthony Davis, who slid in as Morant was going up. And this rule was implemented at a time where we didn't have these freak athletes. It is just a different game, right? I mean, we didn't have guys from all angles, from all positions, flying in and jumping as high as they could. And I think that's a part of it. And the charge, especially with a guy when he's in the air, it's not defense. The charge is not really defense. Like cosplaying as a traffic cone, it's not defense. It isn't. No one pays to see guys slide underneath other players. I think there are a couple things we can do, and our man Zach Harper outlined it at The Athletic and got this ball rolling. The slack was hot for The Athletic last night as people were going back and forth. I mean, what? But it is defense. That you have to have the right position, and that guy has the rightful position to be where he is. I think there's a couple things you can do. You can expand the restricted area a little bit, because back when this rule was implemented, people weren't jumping where Giannis and Ja Morant were jumping from. And so Kevin Love wouldn't have had the ability to draw that charge if the expanded restricted area was implemented. And I think there's just a weak side charge in general. Like, of course, you're charging in, you should be able to take a charge. Of course. I mean, like, you should be able to body a guy up. But the weak side charges, that's where it comes in. That's where these injuries come in. And, I don't want to get too far into this because it's freaking a great playoff series, a great playoff weekend. But Sunday was marred a little bit by those two injuries specifically. And like I discussed this earlier, at the end of the season, Kevin Love is second in the league in charges drawn.
It's actually crazy.
It is crazy.
He was out of the rotation for a long time with Cleveland.
That's what he does. That's how he plays defense, right? It's his thing, and he's playing by the rules. But it's also yucky, and he's also playing on a team with Kyle Lowry. That's what they do to get a call. And we just see as guys can jump higher and higher and higher, these falls become further and further and further down, and it's surprising. Like, especially those two guys, that Ja hasn't got injured more. Yeah. And that Giannis now, as he tumbles to the floor over and over again, that he hasn't got injured more. So that injury, as tough as Giannis is, could change the series big time, even if he comes back.
That's a championship-changing kind of injury, depending on how long Giannis is out. It happened in the first quarter. He came back in for a little bit in this game before ultimately leaving for good in the second quarter. And then not returning. And I guess we haven't really heard news on
not yet
what's going to be happening. It's probably just going to have to be a pain tolerance thing, like how much and how willing are you to be running up and down the court against the Heat team that you're going to be turning your back to all the time because you're a post-up player. So a tough thing for Giannis, but at the very least, we should ban charges on anybody who's over 6'6". If you're over 6'6" and you're taking a charge, ridiculous. Like Anthony Davis trying to take a charge against Ja Morant? Come on. The guy had 7 blocks in that game. I'll go up for another one there, personally. But
yeah, the big
Kevin
man.
Love, that is how he plays defense. He doesn't really have much of another option against Giannis in that situation. But really, really unfortunate for Milwaukee because that definitely took them out of their rhythm. They're used to Giannis being their rock there, and then the Heat took advantage, just going in the paint. Jimmy Butler really showed up in a big way. 35 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists. He could not make a layup in the play-in tournament. Couldn't make a layup on Friday against the Bulls for a long stretch. Couldn't make a layup against the Hawks on, I guess that was Tuesday night. But with no Giannis there, realizing that these are the stakes of the real playoffs, Jimmy showed up big time. And the fact that Giannis was off the court left Jimmy to be the best player on the court. He sees that opportunity, and I thought he was incredible.
He was incredible. He was a monster, and I thought the ball got into his hands a little bit more with Tyler Hero breaking his hand and being out of the lineup, and that just helped him get into his flow more. And yeah, it's very unfortunate that Tyler Hero is injured, and he's likely to be out for a long period of time. It sure feels like. So what are the Heat's chances? It almost feels like an even sort of removal of guys. Like the best team, you lose your best player. Okay, we'll lose Hero just to sort of make it somewhat even in this one. The Heat were just on fire. They're 27th in the league in 3-point percentage, and then they come out in this one and they can't miss. And that one just. I think this was sort of a one-game anomaly, and I know that Giannis Antetokounmpo has a ridiculous pain threshold. We saw what he did in the 2021 finals, dislocated that knee, came back a week later in game 1 when no one expected him to against the Phoenix Suns after his team got it done in the conference finals without him against the Hawks. So will they will they have to do it for game 2 to the rest of the series? I feel like Giannis comes back just because he's just a pretty tough guy. But I think the thing you said about big men taking the charge should be outlawed to some degree, or like Kevin Love can jump. I mean,
not that high though.
No,
I mean he ain't challenging Giannis at the rim. If he's making an impact, it's gonna be flopping underneath. Unfortunately, for him.
Yeah. So if you move out the restricted area, I mean, maybe just ask them to jump. Just
just like kindly ask them.
Yeah, it's
hey, don't undercut our guys.
Yeah, it ends up looking horrendous. Something's got to change there. Because we're seeing a lot of injuries, and it's just weird. It's just weird. Again, not the one-on-one D. That's allowed. You can play defense. Yep. You can be physical, but the sliding underneath, it's ugly. Ugly stuff.
It's ugly, and something bad is going to happen, and something bad did happen for the Bucks. But looking forward, the only way the Heat continue to win in this series, because you're right, it is a little more even if Giannis is out and Tyler Hero is out. But 15 threes last night for the Heat in only 25 attempts, 60%. Yep. That'll get the job done from the three-point arc. Gabe Vincent hit 4. That's big time. Kevin Love not only took a charge on Giannis, which sent him out of the game, but scored 18 points, including hitting 4 threes. Caleb Martin had a solid game as well, 15 points, a couple of threes, brought incredible energy. Their role players have to shoot the ball well for them to be able to score enough to beat the Heat. But 130 points, man, that was a shock to see from a Bucks team who clearly was reeling after the Giannis injury, but still.
They were able to get it together again in the conference finals without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Brooke was amazing. Drew was amazing. They realized what they had to do. And you see a lot of games here, especially from the higher seeds who have had a week off, where there was a bit of a feel-out period, and I think that was happening in this one to some degree. I mean, that sounds like an excuse, but now you don't have your guy who draws doubles all the time. And the Heat are a good team one-on-one defensively. So that's what was happening in this game. You don't have to double anybody. As good as Chris Middleton was in this game. And
really good game.
He was awesome, dropping 33 there. The other guys have to step up too. And I think you'll see a featured Brook in game 2 if you don't have Giannis Antetokounmpo. It'll be an even match, really. And it's unfortunate that Hero's injury is going to keep him out because I was looking forward to seeing if he could get back to going back like to bubble Hero because he's had a couple bad playoffs since. But I expect Giannis to be back. I have no sort of diagnosis or prognostication or inside information if he was bending over with his bad back. Like we know, we got the information from John Morant's post-game locker room. Had to unravel or unspool with help.
Unspool his socks.
But I'm not sure with Giannis, but I assume at some point. It'll probably be a long series if he's out, so he'll have more.
Definitely would be a longer series. I guess Wednesday is game 2 for these. So I guess more than one day off. That's good. More days for that booty to heal up. We shall see if Giannis returns because Hero's done, unfortunately. Moving on, Jamal Murray went for 24 points and 8 assists in his first playoff game since 2020, leading the Nuggets past the Timberwolves in a blowout. It's just one game, Tas, but the play-in doesn't help teams all that much. Saw Miami take down the Bucks. Look at the Timberwolves. They've got the size to compete with Nikola Jokic. Denver hadn't played in a week. Rest versus rust. Is that a thing? This ended up the biggest blowout of the weekend. Personally, I knew it was bedtime when DeAndre Jordan caught an alley-oop in the third quarter. I was like, all right, if DeAndre Jordan's going to be catching alley-oops in 2023, I can safely have a snooze here. It ended up being a 29-point victory for the Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, 13 points. Is he 14 rebounds or is he 14 assists? I assume he's 14 rebounds, 6 assists. His big highlight was a 6 spin move that he had on Rudy Gobert.
That was nice.
Jamal Murray, 24 points, 8 assists, only 1 turnover. I thought he was pretty slow to start this game, but had a really solid second half as things really got blown out. And then Bruce Brown, I thought as well, was pretty solid off the bench for the Nuggets, having an impact as a driver. Other than that, this was a big old blowout, and it looked like Minnesota was happy to be out of the play-in tournament. This game was over. Rest up, and we will get ready for game 2 because I didn't see much for Minnesota to build on in this one.
That's fair.
80 points is not very many.
No, I thought the most interesting things were the the little dust-ups that happened.
Yep.
The Kyle Anderson dust-up, and then the Jokic hitting Anthony Edwards in the face as he drove by him, and Edwards going down and being really pissed off, but Jokic slowly going over to him, like trying to pick him up, and Edwards trying to stay mad, but then he just gave in. It's like, okay, you didn't hit me that hard. I really do want to sell this, but you're being nice. Okay, and this game is over. Frankly, when he drove, you're right. There wasn't much to take from this. Although, kind of like we had in the Heat Bucks, where there's a trade-off there with Hero and Giannis going down. I think this game was probably a trade-off for you and Laura, you and your wife, where you guys were having the discussion. She said, "Oh, you're going to stay up the entire night," and if it gets, and then you said, "Well, I could go to bed at halftime."
Yeah, I'll go to bed at halftime.
But then this was a perfect trade-off. Third quarter, DeAndre Jordan throws down an alley-oop. All right, I'm done. Because it's hard as an East Coaster. You start getting into that fourth quarter, the late game, and you go to half. Of course, you want to stay up for the entire thing.
Totally.
Yeah, that's why I cut it off. I cut it off yesterday. Done at Clippers.
That was a smart move. Yeah, I was willing to give the Timberwolves the third quarter to make it back to see if they could maybe make this interesting down the stretch, but instead they were outscored 32-14 in the third quarter. So it's perfect. Go to bed, bud.
Good weekend for Canada, too. Jamal Murray showed up.
Yeah.
Trey Lyles we'll get to. Big impactful minutes.
Big time, yeah.
For the Sacramento Kings. Wiggins is alive and kicking. Not a great game, but he came back and looked a lot like Andrew Wiggins. So a decent weekend.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker didn't have a great game in the playoffs, but an awesome game in the play-in tournament on Friday.
True. Yeah.
Got an SGA. His cousin.
I didn't know we were gonna go back, but
I thought we were just talking good Canadian stuff.
Yeah, no, we got to take it where we can get it. You're right. He was overlooked. Had a good play-in. That's all we got from the Sunday games. We're gonna take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about all the games that happened on Saturday. Let's do it.
Cha-ching! Cha-ching!
Yeah, there it is.
Cha-ching!
You got it.
That's the one. You know that sound. That's the sound of another sale on Shopify. And the moment another business dream becomes a reality. Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide. Whether you're selling podcast t-shirts or podcast sweatshirts, Shopify simplifies selling online and in person so you can focus on successfully growing your business. Shopify covers every sales channel, from an in-person POS system to an all-in-one e-commerce platform. It even lets you sell across social media marketplaces like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. I don't even think I knew that TikTok had a marketplace. Surprising to me.
Right.
Packed with industry-leading tools ready to ignite your growth, Shopify gives you complete control over your business and your brand without having to learn any new skills in design or code. And thanks to 24/7 help and an extensive business course library, Shopify is there to support your success every step of the way. No matter how big you want to grow, Shopify is there to empower you with the confidence and control to revolutionize your business and take it to the next level. Now it's your turn to get serious about selling and try Shopify today. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/nodunks, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/nodunks. Make sure to keep it lowercase, and you can take your business to the next level today. Shopify.com/nodunks.
Nice lowercase addition there. I like that.
Keep it lowercase. That actually has an effect.
It has an effect.
I don't know why URLs are like that, but if it tells you to keep it lowercase, you better keep it lowercase. Two men on the desk here, one man running a marathon in Boston. The Boston Marathon, in fact. And just a little tappy here as we check in on J.E. Skeets, 27% of the way. Still under a 3-hour expected finish time.
Oh, baby, stick with us here.
And as you can see here, he's getting near hydration station number 8.
This is amazing. This platform is so cool. Will we see him take a sip?
If you really zoom in, you can see him rehydrate.
Yeah, will that cup lower its quantity? Like, will it become empty?
That'd be awesome, actually.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
They're tracking everything there in Boston for the marathon. So good luck to Skeets. I don't think we're actually going to make it to 3 hours here on the podcast. So
Probably not. I thought Skeets was faster in there.
Yeah, pick up the pace, buddy. You think he's listening live right now? So I'm running as fast as I can.
He is. He's going to suck back that water. That's probably he is a showman. So if he thinks that we can see the water be drained from the cup, he's going to drink it, but then he's going to regret it, I think.
He is a showman.
Yeah. He's going to choke. He's going to choke on that water.
All right, JD, send him a Zoom link. We'll try and get him in for mile 13 or whatever it may be. We're going to play a little bit more of It's Just One Game. De'Aaron Fox scored 38 points and took over in the fourth quarter to lead the Kings past the Warriors and Sacramento's return to the playoffs. Light the beam! It's just one game, but...
It's just one game, but no one can stop De'Aaron Fox. He is unstoppable. That was not the worry, but the thing that people were debating in basketball circles. Was he going to be able to take it from the regular season, where he was unstoppable, into the postseason? And it's clear that the Warriors, even though they threw 3 different guys at him, and Dante DiVincenzo to start, and then Gary Payton II, and Andrew Wiggins, who came off the bench, that won't happen again, I don't think. Fox will be able to get to his spots, and I do think we'll see more Wiggins length against him. I think Wiggins has shown he can start. No more of this bench stuff. But the way that he turned it on in that third quarter, where it felt like the Warriors were, oh, hello, it's the Warriors. Here comes the experience. They feel good. But bang, Fox in a response where Domantas Sabonis wasn't having a good game offensively. He was the guy to turn things around. 14 points in just that third quarter alone. Malik Monk came along with him, and then Fox finished it with 15 in the fourth and had maybe a couple bad shots here or there, but also trying to guard Stephen Curry for a lot of this game, in the first and fourth quarters especially. But he did what a superstar did, and I thought the only thing that maybe could stop him is the awkwardness of lighting the beam in the playoffs. It feels more gimmicky, and I don't know if you saw him go up to the beam post-game. Vivek Ranadive, the owner, was there, and it became like this whole dance and this whole performance thing, and he's like, let me just do this. But Ranadive was there, and I don't even know, somebody else came in there. I don't know if it was somebody. I don't know who else was in there, but it was just weird to see Ranadive, Fox, and some other guy who's in ownership, I guess. Just light the thing and get it over with. It became a little too gimmicky. But anyways, Fox handled it well. What a playoffs debut! First time in the freaking playoffs to go with 38 big ones. Great stuff for him.
Yeah, it's interesting about the beam.
Yeah,
because,
I don't want to be a hater, but
yeah, exactly. And I feel like it needs to be lit after every game still. Like, they have to do it.
Yes.
But it does feel a little bit more gimmicky to have the star light the beam immediately after winning game one. So I wonder if they'll just, that'll just be part of the post-game festivities now. Like, we let Vivek light the beam. Then maybe the players light it once the team has advanced to the next round. That's when we're really getting in on pounding that beam button. But, man, what an incredible win.
That's a nice balance. It was an incredible win.
Yeah, this is just to be able to pull off this win when you were down in the fourth quarter, it definitely felt like the Warriors were on the comeback trail, ready to seize the reins of this game. Fox had a good fourth quarter, 15 points like you're saying, 3 assists, but the last 2 minutes, he had a turnover, he went 2 of 4 from the line, had a couple of bricks on jumpers. So he had a good fourth quarter, but did not have a great clutch time, and they were still able to have more poise than the Warriors to make the big shots that they absolutely needed and to come through in the clutch against a team that we know has a lot more playoff experience. To be able to do that in game one after the season that the Kings have had, I just thought that was so impressive. You mentioned how Sabonis was struggling both against Kevon Looney and against Draymond. To be able to get that win with your hub of your offense not showing up the way you're expecting him to, had people questioning the Kings' offense through this game just because Sabonis wasn't able to score efficiently. But then they were able to get the right shots in the fourth quarter and keep their heads as the Warriors are on the comeback trail, hitting crazy shots that are easy to rattle your confidence. The Kings stuck with it and were able to get the win. That was awesome. That was what everybody was expecting in game one. And the fact that the Kings actually were able to pull it out, lots of crowns off to those guys. Who else stuck out to you in this game,
Well,
Tessie?
Malik Monk was a monster off the bench for the Sacramento Kings. He had 32, 8 of 13 shooting, and was getting to the line over and over and over again. And I'm sure that's what the Warriors are talking about in the locker room afterwards, where a guy goes 14 of 14 from the line. They may have gotten a couple good calls. I thought the whistle was really good this weekend, but the Kings, having the best home court advantage, I thought this weekend of all 8 games played, the way it was raucous, it's going to happen, and I think that's all right. I think it's just par for the course. You got a great home court going. There's going to be a couple bang bangs that go your way, and I think that did happen late with the Sacramento Kings, but he was phenomenal. Malik Monk, he's kind of saved the day to some degree to be able to sort of bridge a couple of those quarters. And I said Trey Lyles earlier, he had 2 back-breaking offensive rebounds in his second half run, bridging the third and fourth. So those guys really stuck out to me. I do think what we saw with Fox is going to continue to happen. I think it's just going to be one of those things where they've got a good matchup for Sabonis, but Fox is just going to go up against, I think, a different rotation of guys. I think Wiggins does get the start, but he's just so quick. He is going to be able to get those shots, and they have things they can improve as well. They just hope that Herter hits some shots, because he just had a cool shooting night. I think he's just a better player than that. Obviously, Keegan Murray can shoot better. They have 3-point shooters that can shoot a little bit better. So they have some things going for them too. The worrisome part is you got 80 points from Monk and Fox, or 70, I should say. And that may not happen again, but the other guys have to pick it up. So there's some good signs there. But the Warriors, I think too, they've got a few moves to make pretty easily.
Yeah, Monk was on fire, man. They did a box and one for Malik Monk in the first game of the playoffs. That's how weird this game was, but I don't know, even if he falls back to like 17 or 18 points, I think Jordan Poole scored 17. Like, you need Monk just to play Poole even off the bench. The fact that he was able to outscore him the way he did on Saturday was super impressive. And then, like you're saying, Trey Lyles hitting the open shots I thought was really great. He showed no nerves in a playoff game, and he was just ready to go. And the way that the Warriors were playing defense, shots were going to be there for Trey Lyles, and kudos to him for stepping up. You mentioned Wiggins. He returned to the lineup, came off the bench, played 28 minutes, finished with 17 points, 4 blocks, 3 rebounds. Had a look at a three-pointer to take the lead for the Warriors. I think there was about 10 seconds left. Got a wide-open look from the corner. Bricked it. Steph Curry had a look for 3 as well. Warriors down 3 with 2 seconds left and shot a floater. That was surprising to me. I thought Curry had a look at just a normal three-pointer.
Yeah,
a 2-foot attempt for 3. But when you're Steph Curry, you can take a floater with 2 seconds left and nobody cares. I think the Warriors probably disappointed to not win this game because it was there for the win. They had the lead, and they were getting some pretty solid performances from their better players. But this was more of a Kings good win for me than a Warriors bad loss.
I do think the camaraderie thing with the Warriors, they had the best 5-man unit in the NBA this year when Wiggins was in the starting lineup with their guys. Now, those weren't a ton of minutes, but I think this just felt probably a little bit different. It must have. Wiggins has never come off the bench in his career, 662 straight games, and this one was his first one, and he looks that good. And I do think, there's just a little bit of Wiggins can go in and guard De'Aaron Fox to start the game. It feels to me like last year in the conference finals, Luka could not be stopped, but you throw Wiggins on him and put a little length on him. That's your hope with De'Aaron Fox. You can't stop the dude, but I think Wiggins showed that he looks good, and that was a trial move, but he has been resilient throughout his entire career. He is a bit of an Iron Man, and he missed this time, and now he's ready, I think, to come back. But yeah, I do think the Steph shot was a little bit odd.
Yeah.
It felt like a pregame shot for Steph, like we're screwing around here. and I can throw a ball 40 feet in the air on a floater, and it'll go in, because I was expecting it to go in. And the Wiggins shot from the corner where he had a cold night from 3. He was 1 of 8, but he was contributing in other ways. Was also kind of a weird play because the Kings decided, let's get the ball out of Steph's hands. We're going 4 on 3. Clay drove into the lane, and Fox was sort of, or Barnes was sort of on his back. I think Clay could have shot a layup, but instead they go out to the 3 for Wiggins, who wide open, as you said.
Open. Yeah.
So I'm sure they're happy with that in a way, but they shot too many threes in the end. The Warriors, I know it sounds dumb to say that. It sounds like, well, they want to shoot as many threes as possible. They shot 50 threes, but they were far better from two-point land. They were 18 of 29 in the paint over the first 3 quarters. A ridiculous percentage. Then they just took 5 in the fourth. They got pretty 3 happy.
Definitely.
They're 4 or 5 on those attempts. So they were able to get into the lane. They're not afraid of Sabonis in there. And if Alex Len is going to play backup minutes at center, that was another weird thing that happened in this game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have to be able to go at him. They must go at him and score. So Mike Brown coached a good game. He kept giving us that box symbol, as you said, the little signal to his guys. We're going boxing one real quick. Whether it's going it happening much against Steph and it happened with Kerr on the other side, because these teams can't get stops. But I think we'll see a better balance. Wiggins versus Fox, and then you can put GP on Malik Monk, and then DiVincenzo can be your other guy. So I think that'll be a difference that we see. It's tonight, Monday night here, game 2.
Yeah, it should be an exciting one. Be interesting to see how Fox holds up for the series, because, man, he was doing awesome chasing Steph Curry around. Like, that's a very tough job to be chasing Steph Curry off the ball. He definitely gave up some baskets, but was making it tough on Curry, and then to carry the load completely on the other end was incredible. I also like that his baby was sitting courtside.
That was cute.
Wearing the gigantic ear protection earmuffs, so that was funny. Got to see his first playoff game,
and his girlfriend was really into the game, so
yeah,
she was jumping up,
standing, holding the baby, like clapping while holding the baby. I thought was awesome.
Yeah, baby was getting some shakes in there.
Yeah, it's an exciting night for that baby. And I saw there was some drama with E40, had to be escorted after the game because apparently Kings fans said he was standing excessively. Guess it's been a while since they've been in the playoffs, but you stand a lot in the playoffs.
Yeah, so was he front row?
I think he was good seats. I don't know if he was front row.
Oh, yeah. He's apparently, according to his statement, he said that he was being heckled for an entire half, and then third quarter he decided to turn around and say something
back.
And he got kicked out.
Not coming to game 2.
Not coming to game 2.
That's what he said, by his choice. Not
choice.
coming. Not dealing with these fools.
Save it for game 3. Interesting stat here. The Warriors have never been down 0-2 in the Steve Kerr era. But they tend to lose the first road game in a series a lot. They've now lost the first road game in a series 11 times under Kerr. But they respond.
Game 2 a must win?
Yes.
I kind of think so too.
I think so too.
Otherwise you got to win 4 or 5, and you haven't been very good on the road. And that one was there for the taking. So we shall see tonight. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that game later. Yeah. Moving on, Jalen Brunson scored 27, and Julius Randle returned from injury to score 19 as the Knicks bullied the Cavs in a Game 1 road win. Tas, it's just one game, but the Knicks are too big. Shout out to Fast Friends. They are too big in 2 ways. First, literally, the Knicks looked big in this game. Julius Randle returned. He used his size to push around Evan Mobley. I thought 19 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and a couple of steals for Randle in this one. Mitchell Robinson did his thing on the offensive glass. 5 offensive boards for Robinson. 17 total for the Knicks, including a huge one by Randle with about 6 seconds left. Basically iced the game for New York. This stupid Corona commercial has been in my head for the entire weekend, to the point that I have an analogy for this series.
You can't help it.
Yeah. The Cavs have long knees, but the Knicks are strong like a tong squeeze. Tell me if that makes sense. Knicks, a lot of beefy, strong guys. Cavs, tall and skinny. And I thought that had an impact in this game, the way Randle was able to put Mobley into the basket quite a few times. The way Randall was able to ride Mobley completely out of the play on some of these offensive rebounds. Mitchell Robinson, he's a lot thicker than Jared Allen is. Robinson was a monster on the glass. So I thought the story of the game, specifically game 1, was New York's size and their physicality, taking it to another level against a Cleveland team who is actually bigger. Like, starting 2 7-footers, you should be able to control the glass down the stretch, and Cleveland couldn't. But what has me worried in the second way the Knicks are too big is they got a lot more depth. They have a lot more depth than Cleveland does. The Cavs basically played 7 players real minutes in game 1. Donovan Mitchell was incredible, 38 points, 8 assists. It felt at times like Mitchell was going to win this game by himself. This is the reason why you trade all that stuff, to get a player like that who has you confident you can come through in the fourth quarter. I thought Allen was fine, 14 points and 14 rebounds, but we talked about the impact that the bigs had for the Knicks as well. Mobley and Garland, I thought, were pretty disappointing in their real playoff debuts here. Neither of them scored in the fourth quarter. Mobley went 0 for 3. Garland didn't even take a shot in the fourth. Okoro and LeVert 0 for 7 from 3. I thought Cedi Osman was probably the best reserve from Cleveland. He went for 9 points, 3 of 4 from the field. But that guy was exhausted down the stretch, to the point where in the key play of the game, he's standing up straight and Jalen Brunson just goes straight by him because Osman was exhausted at that point. Dean Wade, Ricky Rubio, they played, didn't really do much. Cavs do not play a lot of guys, and a bunch of them feel like they probably aren't really going to be playable in the playoffs. They're going to have to, but I don't know. I came away from that game a little scared about our Cavs in 7 pick, because the Knicks looked better in game 1, and it looks like they're going to be better the longer the series goes, because I don't know about these. After the top 4, there's a lot of question marks on the Cavs, and you had 2 question marks in that top 4 for Cleveland.
So fair points about their depth. I came away from this series thinking that one team looked like they hadn't been in the postseason, especially Evan Mobley. Garland got his in the end and came through a little bit. But the Cavs were missing bunny after bunny after bunny. And to get back to that Corona reference, I mean, it is sort of like a long tongue squeeze.
Strong like a tongue squeeze?
Yeah, but sometimes tongue squeezes can be a little... There's a lot of distance between the end of a tongs and the tip of a tongue.
That's very true.
And sometimes it can be a bit of a balance, like a bit of a dance to squeeze it perfectly, I think. And
so true.
It's so true, yeah. And I think the Cavs, yeah, they didn't balance it at all. Their tongue squeeze was just a little bit off. Mobley, especially, I thought he just missed so many bunnies. Yeah. And it really helps with the tongs analogy, because that guy is long and skinny. I mean, he's got to be better. Like up and down the roster, I know we can just say that they're not deep, but it was this one that felt like this. There was just a lot of nerves. Him, even LeVert wasn't himself. Who, he can sort of render a bench redundant or useless because he can do all the scoring off a bench when he's hot. He just had a bad one. I mentioned Ricky Rubio really messing that bunny up. Dean Wade, as well as his 3-point shot, that angle from the camera broadcast did him no favors, being behind him as he shot it, and it was way off. A lot of guys were just off, so Cedi Osman had to come in and be the 5th guy. Yeah, usually that 5th guy is Isaac Okoro, who is rusty and not playing a lot. And there was questions about whether or not he would play. A strange one, but I think the Cavs can get it back by being better on the defensive glass. They are bigger. Mitchell, you mentioned this in our preview. That's what they do, especially Mitchell Robinson. He is a special guy on the offensive glass, but you can box out Josh Hart. I know his name is Josh Hart, and he gets after it, but he should not be tied for the offensive rebounding lead with 5. He's 6'5", sometimes he's 6'4", depending on where you look, and he shouldn't have 17 and 10, and they had 23 second chance points overall. Listen, that's their advantage. It's totally true, but they can't rebound 42% of their misses. You're getting a second chance basically every second time. I think that's something that the Cavs could do a little bit better. And sometimes it's just the feel and the flow and everything looks better. And so I think we got a long series here. I'm probably holding out hope, and I'm being hopeful. But the Knicks definitely felt more comfortable in game one. Maybe it helped being on the road and this Cavs team being young at home and having some jitters. But I feel like they'll be better. I mean, the best player on the floor was still Donovan Mitchell, so you have that going for them. He was amazing. He had 38 in this game. But on the other side, you can say Brunson was really good. I know it took him a lot of shots to get to his 27 points. Took him 24 shots, but I think it's just a good sign that he's taken them. And he was in his foul trouble, but he was still able to be that guy. And then Randall didn't have a lot of pressure, and I think that was the recipe for success. So, yeah, everything that you definitely projected going into the series happened. They got more boards. Brunson was awesome. Randall, he didn't have a great shooting night, and he didn't look quite like himself. But I think he was dynamic enough, the Cavs just weren't themselves. So I think you got to be worried, but I think we still got a long series.
Yeah, I imagine so too. It's just nice for the Knicks to be able to have a second guy step up, because Julius Randle did have an okay game. I thought his physicality was really key for the Knicks, but he was going a little haywire in the fourth quarter. Went 1 for 5, had a turnover, and it looked like we might be flipping vibes and going to the bad Randle, which we've seen happen. But then Jalen Brunson just steps in and settles him down, gets some good shots for the Knicks, 9 points, 4 of 9 from the field in the fourth quarter. That was the difference, was when Randle didn't have it going, there was somebody who could get it going for the Knicks still. And I think that guy has got to be Darius Garland going forward for the Cavaliers. It's just going to be hard to get offense going inside for Mobley and Allen right now. They're not guys that you throw the ball into and expect them to score, but Garland has to take a shot in the fourth quarter. The Cavs have to figure out a way to get him looks, because at this point it just feels like Donovan Mitchell is the only guy who can reliably score for Cleveland, and that's an untenable way to be able to win these games. But I'm with you. I think that the Cavs will be better starting on the defensive glass and just not giving up quite as many possessions, though. I think they were like 29th in defensive rebounding rate after the All-Star break or something like that. They just got skinny guys.
They got skinny guys, but even Donovan Mitchell, as the leader, called it out after the game saying, it's on me. Like, I can box out Josh Hart. I can do that. I can find him and box him out. So there was just a lack of awareness, and now they know how they can get killed. And I guess you can say, spin it and say, hey, it's positive that they need all those extra possessions. We can beat them if we hold them to one possession. And also, Evan Mobley, just to go back to him, I mean, yes, you don't really throw him the ball a lot, although they were throwing it to him on the roll and all that. I think what he can do is just shake off the jitters and just dunk the freaking thing. He was throwing a lot of just, let's hope this baby goes in, flick it up there, and it was bounce. The Cavs got, we don't go sabermetrics quite with the NBA, but I think if you were going sicko mode, I think they probably had the most bounces on the rim this weekend, or bounce per shot or whatever, BPS probably, because Mobley was just flicking it up. So if he just goes up and dunks it, I think it's a totally different night. But maybe it's the jitters, and I don't know. Again, I think they can still steal one in New York, and they have home court advantage. So I still think the Cavs in 7 is okay. Last question: what do you think about Jalen Brunson's celebration? Because that was interesting. If you saw late, he hit his big shot. Literally, he was smelling the web of his hand, like in between. It was planned. It wasn't just like a whoops. I am doing the I can't you can't see me type thing, and my hand slipped. It was
stinky web.
Yeah, directly to the stinky web.
What is it? Like, what is that celebration?
I mean, that's never been done before in the NBA. He was doing it all the way back up the floor. There's something there. I was looking it up. Like, is there something behind this? Am I missing something? And all I saw was people saying, well, that celebration is cold. That celebration is cold. So people liked it.
Okay.
That's all.
Nice.
Can't wait to see it in game 2.
Can't wait to see it again. Yeah, maybe game 3, so this could be a little bit longer series. We can't have 2 stinky webs celebrations on the road. That's not good for a Cavs in 7 pick. But moving on, James Harden scored 23 and hit 7 threes. Joel Embiid scored 26 as the Sixers cruised past the Nets. Tas, it's just one game, but
James Harden is going to have the best playoffs of his career. Listen, Trey. Disclaimer, I just wanted to say something slightly bold in this series because there isn't anything all that juicy so far in this series through one game. A lot of bodies thrown at Embiid. by the Brooklyn Nets, and Embiid just played it perfectly. The Sixers made a playoff franchise record, 21 threes in this game because Embiid was handling it well, and Harden handled it well. He was 7 of 13 from 3. You look at his shooting numbers, not all that good from 2-point land, so maybe this isn't going to be the best playoffs of his career, but I think with this team, I mean, this is more looking forward than anything, but I think this team, as many threes as they hit in this game aside, this team is about their top 2, really, and it's a lot about Embiid, but Harden is going to have to be really good. So I guess that for me, if I'm a Sixers fan and I'm looking forward to Boston already, Harden has to be basically as good as he has been throughout his career. He's had some big nights and big games, even if he doesn't have a playoff career or a playoff reputation, I should say. But the three's looking good at least. I think geared himself up for this playoff run, and so he's going to have to be incredible. I'm not buying this that the Sixers are this deep team that can just hit threes. I know Maxey sort of had a quiet night, and he's clearly their number 3. But at least they came out with a disposition. Like there are some teams that have them in Boston that came out and said we're going to kick your ass, and they clearly did that. They just played with the offensive rebounding tenacity, but this game was more about grit than about really a lot of skill to me. They out efforted, and unfortunately the Nets didn't have a great plan for Embiid.
Yeah, this was I felt like the Nets hung around in this game, but you never felt like they were going to make a run at it, and maybe even a little bit more of a depressing win than losing by 40 is feeling like you're in the game and it's still somehow a 20-point blowout, despite the fact that Harden had a great shooting night from outside, making 7 threes, but he was 1 of 8 on 2s. That was the only area where he was rusty to me, was finishing inside. Missed a bunch of layups, but he looked fast. He was getting the ball out real quick. Obviously a great passer, but he actually looked like he had a little bit of pop there. Embiid, 26 points on 15 shots. He also was getting rid of the ball quickly when the Nets were coming with a double team. He was dominant defensively in this game. There's no way that the Nets are going to be able to pull off any sort of an upset here if they're giving up 21 threes to the Sixers and then also turning the ball over 20 times. That was just a beatdown from Philadelphia. Got to give a shout out to Paul Reed. Had an awesome game in this one. He finished with 11 points, had a between the legs to a step through that had everybody going crazy. I think it was the very next possession down. He hit the Plumlee reverse dunk, which is like a semi-stylish one for a big guy. Got a B-ball Paul chant from everybody in the arena, which I thought was great. Afterwards, Embiid said he had a beautiful between the legs move, which we probably don't want to ever see again. Well, it worked, so maybe. So, yeah, big-time dub for Philadelphia in this one. Tobias Harris also hit 3 threes. So, yeah, this is, if you're a Philly Sixers fan, this is an ideal way to start the playoffs. You come out, Harden looks back in action. Embiid has a great game, doesn't need to dominate the ball, and doesn't put up a ton of minutes. And then your role guys, I thought, were pretty solid. Outside of a couple of notable exceptions. But nice win for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I thought the Nets were just reacting a little too quickly, doubling a little too quickly, and that led to a bunch of rebounding problems. The Sixers just had so many more possessions. They're going to win that possessions battle. Then, the Nets are screwed. The doubling just led to wide open rebounds. And why I said they had the disposition, like the P.J. Tucker move that came coming over from Miami. Embiid asked for him basically after their playoff loss. He looked across the floor and said, I like that guy. He came over. He had 5 offensive rebounds. Reed, Embiid himself, and Harris each had 2. That's too many possessions. It's weird because the Nets had the highest effective field goal percentage in a playoff loss ever. They shot the ball well, but they didn't have the possessions, and they turned it over a ton. So I guess they can go back and say, we don't turn it over, we'll be better.
Can't turn it over.
Yeah, and the doubles, I don't know. They happened pretty fast and furious on Joel Embiid, so the threes were wide open, but I guess they sort of picked their poison, and maybe it doesn't happen again. Maybe they don't shoot 21 threes or hit 21 threes again, so it could be a slightly closer game.
should be a slightly closer game. Game 2 is tonight. You feeling a playback itch on that one?
Yeah, I know. I'm so itchy that I'm going to scratch it with a Sixers Nets. It's not a sexy matchup right now.
Not yet.
But I'm not that itchy that I'm going to do a late game. So there's only 2 options here, Trey.
Well,
it's Sixers Nets.
Tuesday.
Yeah, well, there are other days.
There are other days.
I'm not contractually obligated to do it tonight, but I'm figured I'm watching the games.
Itchy. This man's itching.
It's basketball, baby. And I got to be honest, this weekend, I did live my life and watched a lot of games back. Those were the arguments that we had with Danielle and I. I did watch a lot of games on the replay, so I miss all my friends online. So I'm gonna scratch that itch tonight. Just dropping it in the stream right now. Come join us. It'll be fun.
Sixers Nets.
Sixers Nets.
It's an itchy one.
Yeah, I've committed now. So here we go. Sixers Nets. Come join us.
All right, excellent. I'll join you. Why not?
Yeah, we're all watching anyways.
Yeah, we got one more game to talk about, actually.
Well,
Jalen Brown.
Do we though?
Yeah, this one will be short. This is a live your life kind of game. Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum combined to score 54 points. The Celtics held off a fake comeback by the Hawks to win Game 1. It's just one game, but the Celtics are going to the finals. This is a blowout. This was a 30-point game at halftime, 74-44, I do believe, and I was grateful for this one because I went outside and played basketball. I saw my family. I was out of troll mode into dad mode. A nice win for the Celtics, no surprise. I'm sure they were happy to get the Hawks in the first round as compared to the Miami Heat because there's a lot of freedom of movement when you play against the Hawks. So Brown and Tatum were both great, 54 points, but I love Derek White's performance in this one.
He was awesome.
Went for 24 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 threes. He had a couple of blocks as well. I said on Friday that he was a player I was going to be watching this weekend because we saw in the playoffs last year, he wasn't always aggressive. He wasn't looking for his shot. He was happy to pass it away. If he didn't want to take the 3, none of that in Game 1 against the Hawks. I thought he was super aggressive. I thought he was super smart. And if he's going to be playing that way, if they're getting 24 plus from 3 guards in their or from 3 perimeter players at least in their starting lineup, Celtics are going to be tough to beat going further along here. But the Hawks, they went on a little run in the second half. They had a 32-12 run at some point. They cut the lead to 12, but I wasn't really buying the comeback from the Hawks.
No, sir. No, sir. Part of the playoffs is just getting out there and having a little bit of a tougher mindset. And I thought the Celtics did that from the get-go. That Jalen Brown steal on the first possession kind of set the tone. That was a big steal there on the perimeter to jump that passing lane. And the Celtics know that they can move so well behind their perimeter guys that they will all sort of make up for it. And they made up for the one advantage that the Hawks should have had is them being on the offensive glass a little bit more. The Celtics did a good job of keeping the Hawks off the offensive glass. That's how they got into this series. They killed the Heat in the play-in tournament on the offensive glass. That didn't happen in this one. And part of that, Robert Williams looked really good off the bench. Yeah. They have played that perfectly. The Celtics have not played him a ton this season. He has been a little bit banged up, but they're starting a different lineup than they did last year in the playoffs, and that's Robert Williams coming off the bench and Derek White being installed to the starting lineup, depending on the series. Probably next time around, next series, I should say, with Embiid most likely. Robert Williams will probably be in the starting lineup, but he looked spectacular. I think they've played it pretty well here, and especially with the Giannis Antetokounmpo injury and the outlook behind the scenes here in our Google Doc, I was writing some of these "it's just one game but" lines, and I wrote the exact same thing. It's to me, clearly the Celtics are just so much deeper than the Sixers. If we get to a round 2, I think they should be able to kick their ass because they're just deeper. And then the Bucks injury is big, obviously, with Giannis Antetokounmpo. But yeah, we're jumping to conclusions, obviously, and hopefully for this Hawks team, they get a little better play out of Trae Young just to hit some shots because they have to outscore Derek White.
Yeah, exactly right.
And Marcus Smart, and then hope that their bench comes through. So this was from the jump This was terrible. 74 points in the first half.
Yeah, it was bad. Only 5 threes for the Hawks in game 1. They need Trae Young to make shots, basically, to have a chance in this one. But you can tell that the Celtics are obviously not super concerned with Atlanta's offensive rebounding. Atlanta did win the offensive rebounding battle 14-12, but if they were really concerned about it, they wouldn't have started Derek White going into this game. They're like, yeah, you'll probably beat us on the glass. We'll beat you everywhere else. And the Celtics did. So we will see if the Hawks are able to be a little bit more competitive in game 2. That is on Tuesday. So maybe that'll be an itch scratcher as well. We shall see. Going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk more about basketball.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes we don't know why we react the way we do, and we would like to react differently. Therapy is about understanding why we act the way we do. And for men, talking about our issues can be discouraged at times. For example, a fan yelled at Russell Westbrook to take it like a man during game 1 of the playoffs. We have these constructed ideas of how we should respond to life, ideas that they don't actually help us in our lives. I'm trying to sound like an expert. I am not. In fact, I needed a better coping method this past weekend. I can use some therapy, and I do seek it out from time to time to help get out of my head, step outside myself a little bit, but I tend to seek it out when I perceive a problem. It's like going to get a massage when you're sore instead of addressing it all the time. I wish I did it more regularly than just when I need it. John Morant, for instance, he had a meditation session after game 1 versus the Lakers. It helps. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/NoDunks today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/NoDunks.
Back with No Dunks. Just going to do a quick circle back on a few things here, Tas.
Let's do that.
People are saying they think the Jalen Brunson Stinky Web celebration.
What is it?
Paulo Dybala, a soccer player for Roma.
Oh.
Apparently does this celebration. His looks very similar, but his is more like just a one finger.
Yeah.
Maybe because soccer goals are only worth 1 point. I don't know. I'm unsure on that, but I'm willing to buy it. If you have any reference to that, I think you're 100% right. So it's a Paulo celebration to me. We shall see it again soon. Let's check in on the Boston Marathon here, because I just got a notification from my Boston map that our friend J.E. Skeets has actually passed the 50% mark.
Yeah, no, we're behind here.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, 31%, that would be bad.
There we go.
All right, we're halfway through, an hour and a half in. On pace now for 2:56, actually.
Chat, man, this guy's sticking to his pace.
Yeah,
done.
That would be, I think, even a PB. I think that pace is going to slow down. No offense to my man J.E. Skeets, but that's 3 hours is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Heartbreak Hill is coming up later on.
Oh, we're getting a live look here. Oh, he just stopped at the hospital. Hope everything's okay.
Yeah, we're seeing the Red Cross. If you're along with us on YouTube, he just flew by it. But if he's under. I don't think his goal was even under 3 hours, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty here. Huh. So I think he's really happy, is all I'm saying right now. Just keep it up, man. Heartbreak Hill got him the first time and only time he ran the Boston Marathon. So
they named it that for a reason.
It's a lot later. We got to stay on. We got to keep talking because that's, I think, mile 20.
Mile 20, we might actually still be sticking around, I think.
It's possible.
Here. And then once we get into the 20s, I mean, then there's just 6.2 more miles.
Yeah, it's just like our show. It's also like our show. We're nearing year 20, and it's like you can't end the show now because you got to get to year 20.
That's a great point. So, show started what, 2006?
That's right.
You do the math, people.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while it lasts. JK, we'll be doing podcasts for the rest of our lives, and one of the segments in every one of those podcasts will be Tweet of the Night.
Tweet of the Night. Wow.
Twitter.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I do want Twitter to stick around forever as well. I'm not a hater. One thing I don't want to see stick around, and one thing many basketball fans don't want to see stick around, a commercial they were seeing this weekend, Trey. Back to the commercial talk.
Yes.
Many tweets from our man Mark J. Spears, for instance, the first one. Please don't run that Dr. Pimple Popper commercial no more tonight. And they kept coming. Our man Robbie Callant. TNT becoming Warner Bros. Discovery is rock bottom for commercials during the playoffs, LOL. Get Dr. Pimple Popper the hell out of here. Oh, man, I can't wait to talk about Dr. Pimple Popper. But first, a couple more tweets from our man Sean Huygen. Really have to do something about the Dr. Pimple Popper thing. And another one from him. Adam Silver has to step in on this one. I'm excited because I wasn't watching commercials most of the time. I was league passing it. I was getting the in-game arena talk during commercials, seeing all the in-game festivities, so I wasn't seeing Pimple Popper.
Oh.
You were
I was
you?
seeing Pimple Popper.
What happens in this commercial that people are so disgusted? Do you see a pimple pop?
I don't remember seeing a pimple pop, but also, I mean, I'm zoning out at commercials in general. That's a phone check time. And unfortunately, I'm familiar with Dr. Pimple Popper. 4.5 million followers on Instagram. That's where I first heard of it. I was like, people just want to see pimples get popped? I guess so. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I know I do.
You do?
I love it.
You do? You like the
Yeah.
soft pops? I see that that's one of the highlights on Instagram. The soft pops. Those ones are easy.
She's got a
Oh my god. This, no way.
highlight for soft pops. Whoa, is this?
I don't.
Whoa.
I actually
man.
followed like a bunch, not just Dr. Pimple Popper, but there's a bunch of dermatologists out there that I'll follow. Comes up in my TikTok feed, which I'm just looking for cold opens, and they last forever. But it's so satisfying when you see it come out, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I just watched yesterday. I watched an earring, like the earring was still in, but somebody was just pulling just crap and guck and pus and like take out the earring maybe. But I
Yeah,
think it's
really
just like
strange.
buildup of I don't know what it was, but God, it was satisfying to watch. It's gross. But
Are you?
But, like, what's satisfying about it? The person gets.
There's a relief.
Yeah,
there-
not
yeah.
for you though.
I know,
But
but
you know the person's feeling good. That's
Yeah.
what it's about. You're like, I bet that felt great.
Well, yeah, it feels better. It feels better to get rid of it. Like when we waxed Lee Ellis's chest, I was just oddly fascinated by that. Remember
Oh, I remember it.
but I wanted to
I'm
see
not
it
fast-
clean. It was grossed me out, but I was also
The change is nice. Yeah.
so satisfying to see it just completely clean afterwards. I don't know. Like, I'll watch cleaning videos of people scrubbing bathrooms and
That's
toilets.
a good
and
point. Yeah, that can be
Shit.
satisfying.
Maybe because my house is such a goddamn pigsty. I was just like, wow, that looks
But your sons have very clear faces.
They really do. They
Yeah,
really
great
do.
skin.
Are you a blackhead or a whitehead?
Either.
Type of pimple popper
Either.
watcher.
Yeah. I like the problem ones, you know, like this is infected.
Like,
This
you don't get a show with the run of the mill
Yeah.
pimples.
Yeah.
I
Blackheads.
Big boys only.
Get out of here.
Blackheads are great. It's a nice balance of. It's not like a huge pimple. Doesn't take a long time. It's just a quick little pop
Yeah,
out.
it comes out.
And it comes out really fast.
Yeah. And sometimes they're deep and they're like squiggly when they come out, like
Oh,
just way deeper.
You never
than
know what's
think.
going to come out. That's for sure.
Exactly. I think that's this
That is
the
exciting, I
surprise
guess.
factor as well.
So wow, people upset without an actual pimple pop on the commercial because I do think
They know
it's
it's too far.
it is too far. I agree.
Yeah, and honestly,
but
when
these-
it's called Dr. Pimple Popper, you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Show,
Oh.
don't tell. Wait, they didn't show. This is a tell, don't show, and I think it works, actually.
Yeah.
Because if it was the other way around, people would be like, ugh, no way I'm watching this. This way, though, you're like, what kind of pimples they popping?
Right. So
Blackheads, whiteheads?
so I didn't see the commercial. Was it? You don't see anything. You know, you're not getting the
I
satisfaction.
think you see her being like, hey, I'm ready.
People
I'm nice with
complaining
it.
about that.
The name. The name is, and the idea that somebody's job is to get an MD in pimple popping. You had to go to pimple popping medical school for this.
I think it's called a. Why don't you just grow up, audience? I mean, it's a dermatologist.
Hey man, I won't put Band-Aids on my nipples, and I won't watch somebody pop pimples. I'm gonna get that tattooed on me. With regards to playoff commercials, though, what do you think of playoff mode as like the slogan, the overarching slogan for the playoffs?
It's fine.
Do you feel like you're in playoff mode?
Oh, absolutely. So that's why I do say fine, because I do relate.
It feels relatable to me. Like, oh, we're in playoff mode right now. We're grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
We're not athletes, but we are. Yeah, we're in it.
well, I would hope you're in playoff mode.
Yeah.
We're in the playoffs.
We're in playoff
That's why
mode.
it kind of doesn't work for me. You get into playoff mode when it's not the playoffs, right?
You think it's too obvious?
It's too obvious, or it's like something I want to get into the playoffs, so I'm getting into playoff mode.
Okay.
But if you're in playoff mode, you better be already there.
It would be more embarrassing if you weren't in playoff mode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just regular season mode over here.
So, okay. That's actually, we should have, like, you could say the Hawks, they were in regular season mode.
Yeah,
And their blowout. That's a good way to do it.
Totally.
Playoff mode. I still thought it was better than Hero Ball.
Yeah.
oh, it's
They tried to change up what Hero Ball meant. That was crazy.
Right.
That was too big of an undertaking. Another interesting commercial I saw, Bronny James is like the player tie-in for Fast X. It's all about family. It's all about legacy.
Yeah, okay.
Usually it's an NBA player, though. You know, like they'll have Chris Bosh hanging out in Spider-Verse or whatever. They had like that big Marvel activation where Zion was a video game player or something like that. But this was Bronny James getting the call from Vin. We need the next generation.
Is that the movie that Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in too?
Julia Louis-Dreyfus? Does she have a cameo in Fast X?
Oh no, not Fast X. Sorry, I'm getting. She's in the Marvel.
She's
movie.
in the Marvel
Yeah,
universe
she's in
now.
the-
Yeah, she definitely is.
Okay, that's all I
Starting
wanted
the
to say.
Thunderbolts, some say.
the what? The Thunder? What? I don't even know what that is.
U.S. agent. I don't know. What is this? New rock stars? Go check out Screen Crush for that information. We're here to talk
Sorry.
about pimples, okay?
Yeah, sorry I brought up the MCU and you're still on the fast game.
All right, I was in the F you. Not you, not F
No,
you.
no, I get it.
Yeah.
Not offended. I'm just not watching commercials. I didn't.
You're living the life, man.
Yeah.
But you're missing out on all these
I am.
great commerce
Pimple Popper.
opportunities. You
Pimple
could be
Popper.
watching somebody pop a pimple. You're
I
going
just
to be
did.
watching
I
Fast
just
X.
did. I
That's
just
a good
peeked
point.
over your
It's
shoulder.
unavoidable.
I peeked over your shoulder and I saw a pimple pop, not on your shoulder, not on your body, but
Yeah,
on,
you just
on
saw
the screen.
it. You saw it crawling out of there like a worm in
Yeah.
Tremors. Ugh.
That's a good call. It looked like a worm.
We got some playoff games tonight. We'll probably see some of these commercials. Maybe you should watch watch the commercials so you can know about Pimple Popper, so we can have this same combo tomorrow.
Yeah, if we're
C-Block, we're always talking pimples.
playbacking, then we're watching commercials all together.
Nah, that's an itch you gotta scratch. Pimple, pop it right away. You ain't gonna let that thing fester. We've got the Brooklyn Nets traveling to Philadelphia. I don't know. Maybe they stayed. What do you think? It's close. Do they go back home? Probably go home, sleep in your bed, fly back to Philly.
There was some who I think it was the Kings that got into playoff mode, and they're at home.
Warriors and Kings. I know they were talking about going home in between games as well, and they play tonight. These are very closely located matchups for Game 2.
No
Nets
fly mode.
at Sixers, no fly mode in playoff mode. Warriors at Kings. Where you want to go with this, Tas? Which way are you looking here?
I know I fired a lot of these bullets when we were talking about the Warriors Kings, but we have to start with that one. It's a little bit more interesting. I think the Warriors play their best lineup to start the game. They didn't do that. Put in Wiggins in the starting lineup. He looked great. And even though he missed 25 games before that, he looked phenomenal. So we said it's a must-win. He's got to guard Fox to the beginning. Mm-hmm. I know the Warriors like to play it a little slow and not have to necessarily go to their last resort, I guess you'd call it. But, Wiggins against Fox feels like Wiggins versus Luka last year in the conference finals when they were deeper in the postseason. It feels more like a must-win move, and it's a must-win play. They do that, and then Gary Payton II is matched up a little better against Malik Monk, who is skying to the rim each and every possession. It is fun to watch him, so I think that just balances things out a little bit more. So I think that's where the Warriors start. I think that'll be different for them.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see. Wiggins looked good in his first game. Obviously didn't have a jumper, but maybe that comes back. It's also perhaps concerning for Golden State. This will be 2 games for Wiggins in 3 days after sitting out for basically 2 months, so we'll see how he holds up. But I think the Kings can play better as well. Obviously, huge games from Fox and from Monk, but Harrison Barnes went 1 for 3 from 3. Herter 0 for 5. Keegan Murray 0 for 3. any of those three could get hot from the perimeter and swing a game for the Kings, just like Malik Monk did in Game 1. As for the Nets and the 76ers, the key for me in this one is looking at how many threes the Brooklyn Nets are going to actually be able to attempt. They went 13 of 29 in Game 1, and it just doesn't seem like they're taking enough threes to get the variance level up against the 76ers. So I think they got to take between 40 and 50 threes. And maybe don't double team Joel Embiid. Stay at home on the Sixers shooters. Let Embiid score 2-point baskets all night. See how many twos he can make. And then Brooklyn has to try and get hot from three, because that's the way that they pull off any sort of an upset against the 76ers. So increase the variance and decrease the three-pointers from Philadelphia, I think, would be key to a Game 2 competitive game from Brooklyn.
Totally. Right off the bat, they were sort of off-kilter, allowing those shots to happen. Yeah, just speaking of Fast and Furious, those doubles were coming a little too fast and furious. I think they have to read it a little bit more. And I think the Warriors were able to read their game a little bit more. As we said earlier in the show, they took too many threes. The 53s, this doesn't make sense because they can score at the rim against Domantas Sabonis. So I think they can look at the tape and see that. And also just the balance of their lineups with Wiggins will allow them to be a little bit more fresher. I know it sounds weird because Wiggins didn't play for 2 months to say fresher, and maybe it's a question whether or not he can play, get 2 games in 3 nights, as you said, but I guess there's a difference. Number one, he wasn't injured. So yes, maybe he wasn't up to game speed, but he was probably still working out, and I still believe that he said he was working 5. He was working out pretty religiously, and when it comes to this guy who maybe had a bad reputation before he came to Golden State, but that probably overshadowed the fact that this guy is resilient. Like, he plays all the time. So I don't know, he's got one of those bodies that he can just play. So I feel like that'll change things, and they'll be in better rotations, and it's playoff mode, baby. He's got to.
He's in playoff mode.
That's right.
He's in playoff mode. We're in playoff mode. Tune in tonight. I guess we're doing a playback.
I guess so.
What time's that game start, actually?
7:30.
7:30?
Nice.
That's actually perfect.
Yeah. Thanks. I like getting off the 7 o'clock bump. I have a little having a little
That's
cushion.
an early start. 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's still light out here at
true.
the time. But make sure you follow us everywhere on the internet at No Dunks Inc. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. YouTube, I guess you can find us at No Dunks Inc.
That's
as well.
true. Yeah, I'll throw the link up there too.
We've got a new Is This Good out, featuring comedian, up at the top of my page, comedian Eber Maynard. There we go.
Blanking.
I was trying to help you too.
Yeah, we got Fast Friends
Such
you
a
can check
unique
out.
name.
If you've got time, a lot of Fast and Furious references in this episode, so maybe go back and listen to all of those to understand this specific episode. You only have a limited number of hours before that's dated. Subscribe to The Athletic at theathletic.com/no-dunks. Only $1.99 a month right now. Personally, I listen to the Daily Ding on the Athletic app every single day. No ads in that one. Flies by. Great one from Dave DeFore and Mo DeKeel this morning. Really enjoyed listening to those guys. Got anything else?
No, I when you said Fast and Furious and understanding the references, I went and saw the Mario movie this weekend, and the poster for the Fast and Furious with the Vin Diesel like half in darkness, his face half in darkness, holding the cross. I mean, it's almost frightening, that poster. I mean, it gave me a little shiver. It was a Sunday morning. Greek Easter happening this weekend. Happy Greek Easter, happy Orthodox Easter to everybody. Finn kind of scared me, making me think like I should be in church with that cross coming at me right up in my grill. I'm just going to see Mario Bros. And deal with only one person working at the concession. I left everybody mad. It was 11 a.m. It was super early. Yeah. Should have been in church, but I was at the church of Mario, and people so mad. It happens in Atlanta. Yeah, Southern hospitality. Yeah, bad service, more like it a lot of the time.
What were they mad about?
Well, there's only one person working at the concession.
Big line at the concession.
And every child wants.
Oh yeah.
Wants their milk duds or whatever. And such a big lineup.
We had a huge line when we saw Mario too.
Yeah. The icy machines haven't been warmed up. at 11 a.m. Like the theater just opened. Ices were not working, but I did see people starting to get their ices about half an hour into the movie. I loved it. I loved the conflict so early in the morning. It was great. Not being a part of it, but just watching it. I hate conflict, but I like watching it.
Well, you know what I'm looking forward to?
What?
What movie I'm looking forward to? Clipper Bros movie.
Nice movie.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us, and remember, it's playoff mode. Check this quote from Jordan Poole about being in the playoffs. The NBA has to bottle this. This is exactly what playoff mode is all about. It's a long quote, but I'm reading it. Quote, I love this shit. For however long we're in, just ODing. Literally go to sleep thinking about it and wake up thinking about it. Just because it's like, all right, game one's over. Now they've got to do it again and do it again. And then again one more time. It's exciting. It's dope. That's playoff mode.
Embrace playoff mode, people. 60% done.
Go get it, Skeets!